Hello, everybody out there. My pleasure to welcome you again to this forum where I invite somebody who must have left his or her cultural origin and maybe visited or maybe lives in, migrated to another place and then has some kind of experience and is very willing to share that experience, especially what he or she learned, from crossing cultures. And so that's why we call it cross-cultural experience. Today, I'm very, very excited. But if you think that part of my excitement is what you're seeing in the background, you might be making a mistake because I'm nowhere in the Dominican Republic or Barbados. I'm not sipping any pina colada, which they have over there. And this is just one of those things technology will give us to create the wrong impression that we are really enjoying life, or as Ghanaians say, upe life. All right. Today I have a young man who has a lot of promise. His name is Sam. Sam, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, blah, blah. Just something brief before we get into the program itself.
Okay. My name is Sam Are. I am currently residing in Nairobi, Kenya. I am a audio producer, I guess is my almost day-to-day job, where I do like a bunch of different things in audio production, but I also am studying.
Now you're on video.
Yes, I'm on video. Oh man, you have to keep building your skills in this world. You have to do a lot of things. So yeah, so apart from that, I'm studying counseling psychology. I'm trying to finish round up my master's degree in that. And yeah, that's among some of the things I do. I'm also a podcaster. I have a podcast as well.
Okay.
Which I tackle some of the issues with the Kenya music industry.
All right. Oh, okay. That's what the podcast is all about, the Kenyan music. How is the industry doing, briefly?
It's good. It's actually showing a lot of promise. I think for a long time, it has been, I don't say stagnant because stagnant might be the word. But now I think with technology and just information going around, and some of the people who are now in charge of different aspects of the industry, I think we're definitely moving forward along with the artists and the artistry. It's improving and the quality is going up and everything. So,
any chance Kenya will be competing with Nigeria and South Africa anytime soon?
That's the goal. You know, every time we talk about it, we're almost talking about Kenya in comparison with those two nations, South Africa and Nigeria, especially in Africa. And on a recent podcast, we had talked about what can we do to stop being just being consumers in these conversations. But now we can start affecting the industry and being like a big player in the industry. So, I mean, there's promise. That's what I would say. There's a lot of promise. Yeah.
Okay, as they say, where there is hope, nothing wrong. The problem is the situation of hopelessness.
Yes, yes, definitely not hopeless. Yeah, there's a lot
of. All right, let's get back to any the experiences. Yeah, we can take one or two. It doesn't matter. Just especially, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, thinking about this, I think I would start with my first experience going back home to Nigeria as an adult, responsible for myself. So when I finished university, I had to go back for, we have to do our national youth service. That's the 1 year in serving. Yeah. Then it's around around a month in a camp. And then the rest of the time you're now working in either a school or an organization. So I went back after university. Now, this is after staying in Kenya for most of my life. I mean, from the late 90s till around 2016. So
hold it. You're a Nigerian. You grew up in Kenya. And then going back to Nigeria looked like you're going back to another culture altogether. Is that correct? Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
I mean, yes, I the one thing I kept telling myself is I feel like a foreigner in my own country. It was just a very unique experience, getting used to the life there and the different cultures. But that's been fine because that I prepared myself for. what I did not prepare myself for was the social, the this the way just the difference in the social scene and just how people interact with each other and the different things that they value. Nigeria is a very bold, vocal country, just very bold and vocal. That's very contrasting with Kenya, where people are more relaxed and more quiet. I keep saying Nigeria is the Kenya. Um, like if I'm comparing Kenya and Tanzania, I don't know if you've been in Tanzania. Comparing Kenya and Tanzania, Kenya
Yeah.
would be the Tanzania in that equation if Nigeria was the other players. Yeah, it was
Yes.
just very different. I mean, very specific things like being on the bus and you have to vocally say what your stop is when you're coming down. And if you don't, they'll pass. This I kid you not, there are times where I just let the bus go till the stop, the end completely, and then I come down because it was very nervous. I mean, very nerve-wracking for me to just shout
Yeah.
in the middle of the bus where everything is quiet. So that was definitely an experience. I, like I said, feeling like a foreigner where people would come up to me and just look at me and say, you're not from here, are you?" And this is not having any conversation with them, nothing, just unprovoked. They just could tell, I guess, from the way I spoke and just the way I carried myself. So that was very interesting, being back home for the first time.
Okay. Okay. Was there another experience outside the bus thing? I mean, so this is very amazing and amusing at the same time. So you just quietly, very like a docile passenger, and they take you
Yeah.
beyond your destination because you
Oh
couldn't.
yes, yes, yes. In fact, there was a time where I now decided, you know what, I can't keep going past my stops. So I have to
Yeah.
say, so you have to say "owa" when you're coming down, it's Yoruba
Okay.
for I reach my
Oh,
stop.
yeah.
So there's once I said it and everybody looked at me, then like, they almost yelled at me, "Speak louder." And I'm like, oh no,
Oh, boy.
I can't.
So okay, this is getting serious. So even when you
Yeah.
said it, you were actually timidly saying, "Oh, this is my friends
Yeah, yeah,
shout."
yeah. They're like very timid, like, speak louder now, nobody can hear you. I'm like, wait, but you heard me. So it took some getting used to. I don't think I'm used to it yet, to be honest with you, but it took some getting used to.
So, so what did you learn from that experience comparing to the two areas now?
I mean, when you look at it, it the thing I think it teaches me is boldness, because you boldness in different situations. Here, I'm bold for this scene. I'm bold for Kenya. I'm bold for Nairobi. I can stop where I want to stop. I can speak up for myself. But then you can't carry the same boldness back to another. Like, you have to sort of adjust yourself. So
Right.
I think I just really learned to actually fight to adjust myself in the city and not just exist. Which is good, because I think there's different situations in life where you just have to, go beyond what you're comfortable with and what you're used to. So
Okay. Okay, let me just push you a little bit. So you go to Nigeria and then you discover that, hey, I have to be bold, I have to scream, I have to shout. Then you came back to Kenya. Did you have to readjust again?
no readjustment needed, just back to default settings.
Okay, the
I
default
just
default setting.
Yeah, back to default settings. It's very interesting because when I'm in Nigeria, they say you're not Nigerian enough. And also when I'm in Kenya, they say, whenever anyone finds out I'm Nigeria, they're like, you don't come up as Nigerian. Nigerian men are usually bold and very brash, and you're very quiet. I just It's who I am, I guess.
All right. Okay. Is there another experience you wish to share? I know this thing
Yes.
about Nigerians being very bold. Actually, I was in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it was laid back. It's very laid back, but I liked it because the people
Yes.
were very polite. Coming from
Very.
Lagos, Nigeria, where it is push me, I push you on the streets.
Fight for your
Arusha in Dar es
fight
Salaam
for
was
your
very,
rights.
yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's switch
Yeah.
on to your other experience.
The other one is not as humorous. This one happened here, where in the location I was living in, one day a man showed up at my door, and so I think he had agreed with the caretaker to to come in. I didn't know who he was. He had disguised himself. So once I opened the door for him, 5 or 6 men spawned out of nowhere,
Okay.
and And I'm wondering, okay, what's going on here? The caretaker had allowed it, so I knew maybe I was safe. But as soon as they entered my house, they all scattered into different, I think it was actually 6 men, 6 big men. They all scattered into different rooms and started opening cupboards and looking inside the bathroom and going through my things. And then after a while, I kept asking them, what's going on? What do you guys need? What do you guys need? And then they started asking me, where are your documents? All of this, all of this, all of this. After it now clicked, then they asked me where my passport is. Then it now clicked, oh, okay, I know exactly what they're after here. So knowing Swahili, I spoke a little bit of Swahili so that I can just calm the situation down a little bit. But then turns out that they were looking for Bitcoin scammers. Scammers now. Yeah, they were looking for Bitcoin scammers, and somebody had tipped them off that I'm Nigerian. And so they came trying to find out if I am legit. I had all my papers and everything. So after maybe 10, 15 minutes, they got bored of looking around and they started now joking around, and now that's when they left. But that I can say that was the first time I felt like a foreigner in Kenya. Yeah. It was a very interesting experience.
Did you ask them if you look like a billionaire?
The questions that they were asking, I didn't ask them that. The questions they were asking me was, do I live in this house alone? Who else am I? What am I doing? They walked into, I had a small studio in my house, in one of the rooms. Yes. So they walked into the studio. How can you be doing all of this by yourself? So I'm just looking at them like, here are my papers. I am in school. This is what I'm doing. Like, I am the least person you could possibly suspect in this situation.
Goodness. Okay.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That must have been quite traumatic. People just running into your room and then asking questions. You're not even asking questions. They are just, going through everything.
Yeah, because I'm Nigerian, I automatically I'm a scammer somehow doing 419.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, that's something to do with the reputation of a country, but it also has to do with people doing their job as probably immigration officers or all that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. But we guess that they were chasing their leads. But I was not one to chase, I guess.
All right, and they have not come back, I suppose.
Oh no.
Okay. All right. Did they were looking for? Did you say they were looking for bitcoins or whatever papers?
Yes, they were looking for. What they told me, they were looking for bitcoin scammers, but I know around that area that they are probably looking for just this internet, the scammers that happen on internet. I'd actually seen a few. Yes, I'd seen a few Nigerians around that area. Not to say that they were, but then I'd seen a few Nigerians, so I know that they have a reason. It's not that just didn't spawn out of nowhere for them to come and.
Did you ever find out who directed them to your house?
I did not. I had my suspicions, but I did not. I mean, if I'm living on my own, you wouldn't be able to tell I'm Nigerian. But then previously, I had hosted one of my family members, and they have a very thick Nigerian accent. So I think that's where
they said, okay, this is our target.
Yeah, there's definitely Nigerian in there. So yeah, I didn't find out who it was. But.
Okay, Sam, I'm really appreciative of the fact that you made out some time to join. With the experience, I'm thrilled by the experience in Nigeria where where you were like a foreigner in Nigeria. You were very lucky. Nobody came there to ask you, where are your papers?
Imagine if that happened. That would have been very funny.
And then in Kenya now, where the immigration officers were actually doing their job, which is what they ought to do. And then you had the level-headedness to do that, to now realize that they were doing their job. All right. Thanks again for the time, like I said, and then I wish you well. And go ahead with your podcast, and probably you can not reverse the situation, but impact the situation, just as you said, so that next time when people are talking, they'll say, oh, like Nigeria, like South Africa, and I like Kenya also.
And like Kenya, yes.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye.